Vikir twisted the triplet's hands mercilessly, causing him to cry out in pain. He declared in a low, menacing voice that they were Baskervilles, where age doesn't matter as long as you have strength and talent. The triplets, terrified, looked at each other in shock. Vikir suddenly punched the triplets, knocking him to the ground, while the other two watched in disbelief. The third triplet attacked Vikir in a fit of anger, but he quickly kicked him in the face, sending him crashing down. The room fell silent as the triplets lay there, battered and broken. Vikir stood over them, looking cold and unfeeling. He then told the triplets that they would get better with treatment, but he also made it clear that he wouldn't let them leave the room, and they would have to live with the discomfort of their own bodies. However, he would be generous and allow one of them to leave. The triplets were surprised and relieved to hear this, and asked which one could leave. Vikir picked up a knife and threw it in front of the triplets, telling them that they would have to decide for themselves who would leave the room. He then started to leave, but not before turning back and issuing a taunting remark, saying that he can't wait long, so decide quickly. At least one of you should leave right. The triplets looked at the knife and then at each other, realizing that survival was their only option. They began to fight, each trying to grab the knife and gain the upper hand. The sounds of their struggle echoed through the room, and Vikir listened with satisfaction from outside. He had successfully caused the Triton of Baskerville to split, pitting brother against brother in a fight for survival. In the Patriarch's office, the head butler, John Barrymore, delivered some unsettling news to the Baskerville clan patriarch, Hugo le Baskerville. The Morgue clan had been causing trouble in the ruby mines, claiming it as their territory. However, Patriarch Hugo assured John that they would handle the matter when the Morgue clan reached out to them. John then reported on the interim evaluation of the juvenile fortress and informed the Patriarch that Master Vikir had scored the highest on the written exam. The practical exam was scheduled in 5 days, and the Guardian Knights had vacated the premises in preparation. However, John hesitated before informing the Patriarch of a recent incident at the juvenile fortress. John informed the Patriarch that there had been a big fight amongst the young masters at the fortress. Patriarch Hugo was concerned and asked how many of them had died. Butler John informed Hugo that there were no casualties, but Master Highborough's teeth had been completely damaged, Master Middle Leborow's jaw had been smashed in, and Master Lowborough's left index finger had been amputated. While they had recovered their health since being treated, the psychological damage done to them seemed significant. Patriarch Hugo was taken aback and remarked that they wouldn't have fought amongst themselves since they were so close. John then revealed that there was some friction with another young master, an 8-year-old named Master Vikir, who had wounded the 3 young masters and who also had the highest scores on the written exam. After Patriarch Hugo expressed his concern about the incident at the juvenile fortress, he summoned Vikir to his office. Vikir arrived with a smile on his face, and Patriarch Hugo commented on how much he had grown since they last met. Patriarch Hugo then brought up the issue of Vikir disabling the 9-year-old triplets in his senior class. Vikir responded that the brothers had received proper medical treatment since then. However, Patriarch Hugo pointed out that he was not talking about physical disabilities, but the disability of the heart. He explained how the incident had torn the brothers' relationship apart, and asked Vikir if he thought what he did was wrong. To this, Vikir responded with a question of his own, asking what did he do wrong. Patriarch Hugo pointed out that he had turned his brothers into a total mess. Vikir, with a confident look in his crimson eyes, replied that he was stronger, and how could the stronger person be wrong? Patriarch Hugo then revealed Vikir's brothers had forgiven him, yet he still didn't feel an ounce of guilt. Vikir seemed surprised by this news and asked, "They forgave me?" Vikir suddenly recalled a memory before his regression. The youngest daughter of a family that was ruined by the Baskerville clan came to pay Hugo a visit. She had become a nun after many years, and she forgave Hugo despite his clan being responsible for the ruin of her family. Vikir repeated the same line that Hugo had said to the nun, that forgiveness is an excuse made by the weak who cannot seek revenge due to their lack of strength. As Vikir talked about the importance of strength, Hugo showed his approval by nodding and his eyes glowing with agreement. He then turned to the head butler, Barrymore, and instructed him to allow Vikir to take any snack he wanted from the food storage, enough for him to carry on his own. Vikir expressed his gratitude by requesting chocolates. As Vikir was leaving with head butler, Hugo addressed him as his son, urging him to perform well on the upcoming evaluation and not to lose to the direct descendants. Vikir acknowledged the advice, but his face was filled with hatred. Vikir and head butler made their way to the storage room. The head butler began to inform him about the chocolate. He explained that it was the highest quality chocolate that the Morg clan had obtained with much difficulty and that it was enjoyed by their gourmands. However, Vikir quickly interrupted him and stated that he didn't want anything that was processed. The head butler was taken aback by this and asked for clarification. Vikir then requested cacao beans, ones that had a rich aroma. The head butler was confused but complied and had the beans brought to Vikir. As Vikir put one of the beans in his mouth, the chef informed him that they were the bloody beans known for their rich aroma and that with just one bean, he could produce 100 liters of chocolate. The head butler watched as Vikir ate the bitter bean and thought to himself that Vikir must really love chocolate to eat something so bitter on its own. And this was a good method to obtain more chocolate, as after being processed he would have a huge amount of chocolate available. The chef asked Vikir if he wanted them to process the beans and send them to his room, but Vikir declined and said he would take them as is. The head butler was left wondering if Vikir just had peculiar tastes. Vikir had no interest in eating the chocolate, but he had a plan for the cacao beans. Vikir planned to use the beans in the upcoming practical exam in 5 days. Little did they know, a catastrophic event would soon occur. Unlike anything that had ever happened before,